Growing up, I absolutely loved the Yokai Watch franchise. It all started when I discovered the anime and decided to devote my life to watching it 24/7. Then I evolved as a consumer and began buying the games and toys whenever I was at Walmart. Admittedly, I was still a Pokemon fanboy glazer through and through as a child, but it was so nice to have an alternate franchise to look towards whenever I wanted to spend copious amounts of my mom's money on random merchandise of cute little creatures. Sadly, this series of games never really took off here in the States like it did in Japan, and when it comes to content about this franchise on social media, it is really scarce. Nowadays, all you see are Pokemon Nuzlocks and challenges, which makes sense, of course, since it is the biggest franchise in the world, but Yokai Watch also deserves some love. So recently, I decided to try a Yokai Watch Nuzlocke, and it went horribly wrong. Yeah, I lost my first attempt while battling a low-level cough, and then I ended up losing my second run because of jaywalking. Nuzlocking this game was way harder than I imagined, and after losing the first 2 attempts, I told myself that I would never do this challenge again. I spent nearly 4 years doing a Pokemon Soul Silver Nuzlocke. There's no chance in the world I'm spending another 4 years doing a Yokai Watch Nuzlocke. I cannot do it. The battling was too unpredictable, catching new yokai was unnecessarily difficult, and I couldn't resist the urge to break traffic laws. But then I saw how my video did. Yep, you're hearing that right. Bigger number equals better person. And with that logic, I was recently inspired to attempt another Yokai Watch Nuzlocke. But this time, things were gonna be a bit different. My first 2 Nuzlocke attempts were on the first game, simply titled Yokai Watch. But for this third run, I decided to take my viewers' advice and do a Nuzlocke of Yokai Watch 2. LaiyenZ, why would you do a Nuzlocke of Yokai Watch 2 if you didn't even beat Yokai Watch 1? That doesn't really make any sense. Well, stupid LaiyenZ viewer. Why do you ask so many damn questions? My main reasoning behind wanting to do a Nuzlocke of Yokai Watch 2 was because, first of all, most of my viewers wanted it, and also I thought it would get quite repetitive if I kept attempting Yokai Watch 1 again and again. Also, in all honesty, Yokai Watch 2 is way better than the first game. If you aren't familiar, Yokai Watch 2 actually has 3 versions: Bony Spirits, Fleshy Souls, and Psychic Specters. For my run, I decided to play Psychic Specters, since I originally planned on making this a randomizer Nuzlocke, and that apparently can only be done with this version of the game. But sadly, I am slightly stupid. I couldn't figure out how to get the randomizer to work, so that idea will have to be done at a future time. Hashtag foreshadow. From a gameplay perspective, Yokai Watch 2 is basically identical to the first game when it comes to the automated battling and the setting of the game, but there are some quality of life improvements when it comes to the RNG of befriending new yokai, and also there are 100 new yokai to befriend. As for the rules of the Nuzlocke, they are quite simple. If a yokai dies in combat, I am no longer allowed to use it. I can only befriend the first yokai I encounter in each type of area in each town, meaning 1 yokai per tree, bush, etc. And I also have to give a nickname to each one of the yokai I befriend. Alright, with all of that explained, it is finally time to begin my 3rd attempt at Nuzlocking a Yokai Watch game, and also my very first time replaying Yokai Watch 2 in about 10 years. I'm really getting old. I hate how, bright my screen is right now. I'm, literally incel gamer core. Editor, edit me to look like I'm in a basement right now. So, when I first booted up the game on stream, I was immediately hit with a wave of nostalgia from the opening cutscene. Oh my god, this intro song is so fire. Hold on, let's jam out real quick. Okay, that's enough jamming. And for some reason, similar to my last Nuzlocke, my viewers immediately decided to falsely incriminate me and state that I was emulating the game since they saw a mouse cursor on the screen, but I kept trying to explain to them that I actually have a limited edition 3DS mouse accessory that was sent to me by Nintendo and allows me to play games with a keyboard and mouse attachment. Why is there a mouse? Okay, we go over this all the time. Nintendo sent me a review copy of Yokai Watch 2. And this is real. It's obviously in an emulator. I've never watched one of your streams, so I can obviously tell it's an emulator. No, obviously you're wrong, Lightning Boy, and you're stupid. So don't try to prove me wrong, because you can't. After the opening cutscene and naming my character, we are introduced to 3 thugs that play a major role in this game's story: Kin, Jin, and Bronzelo. From the surface, their old and wrinkly bodies may make them look like candidates in the upcoming US presidential election, but in reality, they are powerful yokai that steal our yokai watch while we're sleeping and wipe away our memories, making me forget all about the yokai adventures I had in the first game. Even though technically I never beat the first game on stream, so I don't know what memories they're wiping because I lost both of my Nuzlocke attempts. The next morning, after having my memories taken away, I wake up and go downtown with my parents. After spending some money and running some errands, editor, make me have so much money in my hand right now. Editor, just give me copious amounts of money all over the place, just flying in and out. My parents decided that they wanted a sweet treat, but my parents apparently hate one another, since they begin violently arguing in the middle of a busy sidewalk about what type of donuts they wanted to have. I'm honestly noticing a reoccurring theme in the Yokai Watch series, where the parents genuinely just want to kill one another. In the first game, they argued at the start of the game, and in the second game, they are once again arguing. I wonder if in the next Yokai Watch game, they're gonna just get a divorce outright at the beginning. Since my parents have the emotional intelligence and decision-making capabilities of a child, I had to make the decision myself and choose between the spirit or soul donuts, which basically just represent the other 2 versions of Yokai Watch 2. So my decision will just scope down which yokai I will encounter during the game and change up the story just a tiny bit. It took a bit of time for me to make my decision, since both of the shopkeepers for the donut places were the most grotesque, disgusting-looking individuals I had ever seen, and I didn't want to purchase any donut that they were making. Okay, wait, maybe I shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Or maybe I should, because that's how the world actually works. But I ended up picking the Spirit Donut, since its logo looked like a poop emoji. After choosing the Spirit Donuts, I sadly walked away while thinking about my parents' impending divorce, and then my friends Bear and Eddie showed up to flex their Mega Watches on me. Seeing their Mega Watches also helped jog my memory a bit, since I realized that I was missing a watch. Maybe you could say a yokai watch. Sorry, that wasn't funny. I later met up with Bear and Eddie again, as well as Katie, to go bug catching at the park, similar to what we did in the first game. But once we finished up, I felt a weird aura coming from an alleyway near the convenience store. I decided to ignore any common sense and basic survival instincts in order to go and explore this alleyway entirely by myself. Let me remind you that I'm like 12 years old in this game, by the way. At the end of the alleyway was a store called the Memory Store, very original name, and in the store was a man named Knick-Knack. While looking at the items that the man had for sale, I noticed a watch that looked awfully familiar. The Yokai Watch. I knew I had to have it, and luckily Knick-Knack was down to sell me this watch for a bargain deal of $1. I know it's just a video game and the main protagonist is a child, so the watch has to be affordable, but if I ever went to a store and had the ability to buy a watch that let me see paranormal creatures from Japanese folklore and it was only $1, I would flip out. So after buying the yokai watch for $1, I left the store, and outside was a gacha machine like the one from the forest in the first game called the Crank-A-Kai. A very interesting name. Personally, I don't want to crank anyone named Kai, but to each their own. Whoa, guys, it's the vending machine from the first game. This is a reference. This is a reference. Guys, this is a reference to the first game. Oh, it's just a rock, isn't it? Editor, put a picture of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on the screen. Inside the ball I got from the Crank-a-Kai machine was Whisper. Yep, there he is, in all of his glory and annoyingness. One thing I have to say that I've noticed while playing through the Yokai Watch series of games recently has been the cutscenes and voice acting are so good. Especially for 3DS games, the quality that these titles have is insane and something I would love to see in another franchise, if you're getting what I'm trying to say here. Back to the game itself, Whisper also forgot all of the memories that me and him made together in the last game, but thanks to the Yokai Watch and its magical powers that I don't entirely understand and also don't know how I bought for $1, we were both filled in on all of the adventures we had in the first game. However, Whisper and I quickly realized that we were missing one more very important character, Jibanyan. With this realization, our next task was to go and find Jibanyan, who conveniently was standing in the same spot we had found them in during the first game, aka the spot where he got hit by a car. Hashtag L, hashtag would never be me, hashtag skill issue. After jogging their memory a bit, Jibanyan would go on to join my team, and I would give it the nickname Cheeto. Now that the trio is back together, we all went to visit the memory store again, but conveniently when we went there, it was completely gone, and in its place was a yokai named Bushido. After a quick battle, I was actually able to befriend this yokai and give it the name Meat, because for some reason I associated the name Bushido with the Italian meat called prosciutto. Prosciutto? Isn't that a type of Italian meat? Isn't prosciutto a type of Italian meat that you get in the state of New Jersey? What am I thinking of right now? My next goal after obtaining Meat was to learn about the Crank-a-Kai and the capabilities it has when it comes to obtaining more yokai for my team. In order to learn more, I had to run all the way to Mount Wildwood, but while trying to get to the gacha machine at the top of the mountain, I encountered my first obstacle to this Nuzlocke. Up until this point, I've honestly had zero threats to my run. Nothing has really stood in my way since it's basically been all dialogue. But now I was finally face to face with the yokai Blocade. Blocade is a buff pufferfish and kinda looks like a SpongeBob character when they had those inflatable arms that were super muscular. Even though Blocade looks like it would beat the hell out of me, in all reality, it is one of the biggest disappointments ever, since from an appearance standpoint, it does look strong, but I ended up beating it with ease. After defeating the Blocade and going to the top of the mountain, there was a Crank-a-Kai machine that I was able to use a special token on and choose from one of 3 familiar yokai that could join my adventure: Ruffraff, Manjamut, and Tattletale, who you may remember from coming inside me in the first game. I could have worded that differently. Of the 3 choices, I ended up choosing Ruffraff thanks to the suggestion of my chat, and I named it Pingus. So far, this Nuzlocke experience has been way easier in comparison to the first game, since there's a clear lack of battles towards the start of this story, but soon I was gonna realize how difficult this Nuzlocke could become. However, before any tragedies could actually occur, I had to do 3 key quests to proceed with the game. The first quest on my agenda was to help this guy in the forest get a brown cicada, and conveniently from earlier, I already had a brown cicada, so I was able to complete the quest in a matter of seconds. The next quest was to go to the elementary school, since there was a massive fight happening over a soccer game. Things were getting really tense. I was kind of scared also, since I didn't know if someone was going to start swinging or beating each other up, and after some investigations, I learned that these fights were being caused by the yokai nosers. I may have accidentally messed up during stream, since I said that the nosers kinda looked like me, and then my chat decided to latch on to that statement and said that I was right. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. First it was the janitor in the first game, and now it's nosers in this game, every semi-ugly character just gets labeled onto me. I was able to pretty quickly defeat the nosers and finally moved on to the last quest, which was to drive business into one of the convenience stores in town. To do this, I befriended a hungramps that was in my house and causing my mom to be a gluttonous monster. Oh my god, he's got a little dribble coming out of his mouth. Hey man, just say you're excited to see me. I named the hungramps Unk and posted him up at the front of the convenience store so he could hypnotize all the passing people and cause them to purchase random items that they don't need. I love consumerism. So, with my quests completed, I went home for the night, but not before I was able to see my parents acting freaky in the living room. I'm never gonna be able to take that image out of my mind. The next day was another jam-packed adventure, but this was also one of the worst experiences I've ever had in a Nuzlocke. You may be asking, why was this one of the worst experiences I've ever had with a Nuzlocke? Because surprisingly, I didn't lose a yokai during this first part. Well, the reason why this was so bad was because I wasn't able to befriend any new yokai. Oh my god, is any yokai gonna become my friend in this game? In every area of the town that I would go to, I would encounter a yokai, give them some items, beat them up, and they would just not befriend me. The RNG was not on my side at all during the end of this game, and I was not able to get any yokai in any area until the very end when I went to the alleyway and got a Pandal who I named Skibbity. And with that, the first part of my Nuzlocke attempt came to an end. I finished up the Vanishing Watch storyline, and I'm really excited to continue playing through this challenge. I know it's pretty shocking to hear this, but it's not over yet somehow. So if you would like to see me continue this Nuzlocke, make sure to go follow me on Twitch, where I plan on streaming this run some more and hopefully winning it. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, or else I will find you. Guys, can I do a speedrun of how fast I can get trench foot? Would that be funny? Speed running different war-related diseases. W or L idea?